everyone, and welcome to the next plenary discussion of digital transformation in retail trends and benefits on Retail Tech Innovation Asia. I am Badrillah Jivan, who will moderate this session. A little bit into this plenary first, digital transformation in retail industry may sound great and exciting after hearing about technology, innovation, and its use cases within the retail sector. But the question is how to get started. In this session, you will learn on how to put an effective digital transformation strategy into place that meets the changing demands of consumers and the marketplace. A bit about myself, I am Jivan. I'm currently heading hospitality, training and customer service at bakery in Kuala Lumpur, namely Kenny Hills Bakers. We are currently at 5 locations and 2 brands, which is My Humble Bowl and Nourished by Kenny Hills Bakers. We take great pride in our sourdough bread and artisanal pastries like the key lime pie and peach strudel, as well as our wood fire pizza, our roasted chicken, and our beef Wellington. Having said that, right after this circuit breaker, which is now currently happening in Kuala Lumpur, we are currently ideating and incubating a new brand called Kenny Hills Coffee, which I will spearhead as its operations director. Prior to that, I was also the customer service and training manager with Costa Coffee, overviewing the opening of our first 6 locations in Malaysia. And my love for F&B, hospitality, and training people, especially, it started 23 years ago when we first opened Starbucks Coffee in Malaysia. So having said that, I will now lead us into meeting our fine team of panelists, 5 key speakers today. Starting off with Miss Raushida Waisaiwala, Manager APAC of Celtra. Raushida Waisaiwala is the General Manager APAC at the creative automation company Celtra. She started her career in the creative and art industry and shortly after switched to digital marketing and ad tech. Building meaningful connections between consumers and brands, she has spent the last 10 years working across geographies, brands, and technology providers to create winning formulas to bring data, media, and creatives for better consumer experiences. Rashida is passionate about art and science coming together with technology as a backbone. Rashida is a change agent who anticipates the market and helps guide business stakeholders accordingly. Prior to Celtra, Rashida worked with a location intelligence platform managing Southeast Asia sales. Welcome, Rashida. Mr. Terry Chan. Hi, Terry. Terry is the chairman of Hong Kong E-Commerce Supply Chain Association, HKECS, the founder and CEO of Just Group, a pioneer and innovative new retail e-commerce enabler in Hong Kong, which offers end-to-end omni-channel solution, revolutionizing our clients' businesses, empowering their brands as well as bringing their products to the most leading e-commerce markets across the globe, such as China and Southeast Asia. Welcome, Terry. And next would be Mr. Miggy Azurin, Managing Partner, Husky Digital Philippines. Miggy is a digital strategist and online entrepreneur. He manages an e-commerce marketing agency with clients in pharma, retail, real estate, and agriculture. His mission is to inspire 1,000+ organizations to solve real problems through marketing. He is committed to consulting managers, guiding teams, and educating professionals. Welcome, Miggy. Next up, Mr. Gian Della Rama, the CEO of Aya. With a background in software development, Gian has experience in managing tech companies and leading startups. Prior to becoming a full-fledged technopreneur, he had extensive experience in Unilever and Hewlett-Packard. He believes in building the next great Filipino software engineering company and co-founded Aya, the leading conversational commerce and RPA services company in the Philippines. Pleasure to have you, Gian. And next, last but not least, Mr. Abhishek Mahajan, the Senior Manager of Retail of Aspire Systems Consulting Private Limited. Abhishek Mahajan is responsible for the retail strategy and large deals at Aspire Systems. He leads the business development, large deals group, and cross-service line collaboration for the retail domain across digital, both mobility and web, enterprise applications, integration, analytics, AI and ML, custom development, cloud development ops, L1 and L2, help desk and QA. He's also the practice manager for e-commerce portfolio, which works on E2E services in consulting, implementation, manage, and services. Wow. Thank you for joining us today on this plenary. lady and gentlemen. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise.
So the first question that we have today, um, I would quickly go to it. Yeah. So the first question is, what does digital transformation really mean for today's retail industry? Terry, would you like to answer this one?
Sure. I think first of all, it's my honor to be invited to share my experience. Well, I think it is a very good question indeed. And well, I think first of all, when we respond to this question, I think nowadays we should look into the ecosystem's perspective. When we talk about the e-commerce, we should look into from the e-commerce ecosystem's perspective. Well, in a typical e-commerce ecosystem, we have some essential building block. For example, we have payment, we have logistics solution, we have a category solution. That means how you sell your product locally or cross-border. And also we have a different kind of seller solution, but they are highly linked up or integrated by data, by the technology. But ultimately, they have to fulfill the needs of the consumers. That's why we need to have a key understand when we conduct the digital transformation. We have to understand what are the ecosystem, what are the essential building blocks within this ecosystem. And then we conduct the digital transformation uh, with all these kind of essential building block within the ecosystem. Yeah.
Right, good one. Um, would you like to share that as well, Gian?
Sure. Yeah, no, looking at least the past 2 years, no, pre and post COVID. For me, um, at least the one of the primary ways that digital is becoming more prevalent in retail is that it helps retailers better serve the fast changing needs of customers. Right? Pre-COVID, we were all shopping. Mostly there's already e-commerce, but there's still a lot of offline e-commerce or sorry, offline retail um, transactions. You go to the store, you go to the restaurant, but all of a sudden, because of COVID, the consumer behavior suddenly shifted. The most obvious one is, we can't go anywhere for the most part. But there are actually, two other things that I've seen that has also shifted as far as customer behavior is concerned. Um, One is, there are a lot of services that customers use to purchase, let's say, in together with other people, say like going to the gym or going to these type of social experiences like going to the movies and so on and so forth. But what happened now is that since we were all isolated, we're actually now buying the same equipment, the same movies, the same computers, so on and so forth that we enjoyed in other places. So there's this rise in demand for these electronic products and products that keep us happy,
Mhm.
well fed at home. So post COVID, what's gonna happen now to retailers if they don't take into account, these types of changes in consumer behaviors? If you don't adapt fast enough to these shifts in behaviors, you won't be able to sell as much. That's where digital transformation comes in. At least for me, there's obviously a lot of ways where digital
Yeah.
transformation
Hmm.
can help in retail, but for me, that's
It,
probably the most important one. Being able to help
yeah,
retailers serve the shifting demands of consumers.
very interesting. So it's got to do with the shift in consumer behavior pattern and
Correct.
thought pattern, yeah. So that brings us very interestingly to our second question, which is where should retail businesses start with the digital transformation? And Ms. Rashida Waisawala, maybe you would like to take this.
Yeah, so it depends on what are the business needs and what technologies are already in place. Some retailers already have a CRM, DAM, or a marketing automation platform, etc. But what's critical is to identify the business needs and then map the tech to those needs. So, for example, many retailers are now experiencing a huge windfall of a very high volume of first party data. And the best way to capitalize on it is by serving the target audience with the right type of creative content at the right time through the right paid and owned media channels. And this kind of demand will require creative automation software to produce relevant content at speed and scale in order to have a higher ROI or be able to meet that demand. So, for starters, the focus for a CMO is which technologies are business critical. By aligning your tech decisions to the marketing strategy, you will not only be avoiding the more tech is good tech syndrome, but also have a very well informed and coherent kickstart to the transformation journey.
Thank you for that. What's your take on it, Mr. Migi?
Yeah, so
Migi?
what's very interesting is when I work with a new client and I see their gaps in digital transformation, they seem to think that creating or investing in a Facebook page constitutes full transformation, when in reality it's much more than that.
Mhm.
Digital transformation isn't just updating your website; it's looking at your entire business and seeing which gaps in inefficiency can be
Mhm.
filled with digitalization. So it really starts with looking at the overall value chain of your business, asking yourselves the tough questions like where across my value chain can I create more value for my customers, whether that's uh, in your raw materials or your marketing or even in the delivery of your products.
Mhm.
And I think even better is asking yourself, where can I become more competitive? I think the pandemic really just highlighted the need to think
Yeah.
digital first, and it really starts with looking at your entire business. So I would recommend that you start with your business strategy,
Yeah.
looking at the
Yeah.
business as a whole and build towards the future, because
So it
digital
sort of
transformation.
like
Uh,
accelerated the whole process and amplified it even more. Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly.
Hmm. Mr. Abhishek Mahajan, you would like to have a say on that, on this?
Oh yeah, would love to. Thanks, Jivan, and thanks everyone. It's good to connect with everybody on
So,
both. A really good platform
right.
to connect, and yeah, we are all virtual. I hope everybody watching and everybody on this panel is doing great and continue to do great. So, given if I have to answer your question, one of the very important things that I think Miggy also pointed out is what I'll want to highlight is we have to understand digital transformation is not just focusing on channels or touch points that are visible to the end consumer, but it encompasses whole behind the scenes too. Let me quote a couple of examples. A very typical example will be if your business and technology teams are not aligned to achieve a common objective, they don't have the right collaboration tools, or business wants to go live in 2 weeks, but the technology says it's going to take 4 months. How do you bring all of them together? That's an aspect of digital transformation that retailers should look at. You also need to understand the same way what everybody else was also trying to mention. Customer is the center focus for digital transformation. Customer experience is the most critical. That is what eventually all of us want to do because that is what spirals into the purchases or the engagement. So, how do you keep customer in the focus? Knowing the same customer is talking to you on the mobile app, the same customer has landed in your physical store. Whenever post COVID that is allowed physical retail, or the same customer is interacting with you on social media channels, say, hey, I love this product, or I do not love this product, or something as simple as that, going to a marketplace and getting more information of a
Mhm.
product versus on your own website, the product information is very limited. All of these have to be thought about in digital transformation. So integration of this entire ecosystem is digital transformation. Business and technology collaboration is transformation.
Right.
building experiences on top of all of this, which can take care of purchase general needs, actual experiencing the product, the storytelling, the product information, or what Nike or things like Adidas and those brands do great. Build a community of influencers, which makes further customers get onboarded onto buying that product is digital transformation. And last statement that even I want to try and make about this digital transformation and where it should start with is ensuring that whatever you do in this space, experience, building everybody together, enterprise integration, please make sure that analytics is built into every one of these aspects. Without the data points that you can gather from any of these and putting the analysis for those data points back into the system will make your digital transformation a perpetual machinery. You will start self feeding because your
Yes.
cycle has been built. So please make sure
It's a
analysis
holistic,
is all part of
yeah, online, offline, but the center of it all being the consumer as well as the business, whether or not they are reaching out. Because a lot of our footfall living up there, the cloud right now. So virtually, it's the holistic picture of it. Good
it.
share, Abhishek.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Thank you.
move on. Yeah. Thank you. Move on to the next question of how strong is the digital threat or opportunity for retail companies? For example, what percentage of your revenue could be impacted? Perhaps Mr. Gian Del Rama would like to take this one.
Sure. Well,
Gian? Mm-hmm.
last year it was pretty obvious that if you didn't have any digital presence, you know, if you were a smaller store, you'll basically be dead. I have a lot of friends who lost businesses in the first 3 months of COVID-19 last year. Now, when the Philippines went on lockdown, a lot of businesses tried to survive, but eventually fell, and closed. Like I believe 25% of the economy contracted in that quarter. So that's a huge, the not having digital uh, can have potentially, devastating consequences to the business. Um, and but just looking out or taking out COVID for now, what we're seeing here or what I'm seeing here is that worldwide, if you look at it, the percentage of e-commerce revenue to total revenue of organizations, is probably in the 18-ish% range on the average. Some companies will be more, will have higher share of e-commerce than the others. But what's important here is that it's grown like 30%, from like 12% in 2019 to 18%, in 2020. Um, Again, due to COVID, but also due to the shifting consumer um, behavior. COVID was the trigger, but I believe that people buying through digital channels will stay. Um, and I think more importantly, um, the it's also knowing that there is a huge opportunity for retailers to capitalize on digital transformation. Uh, if you had a restaurant, you would usually count your customers by the number of tables that were filled. But now that everything is digital,
Yeah.
you don't your counting tables is just too little a number. No? If you go to a
Mhm.
restaurant now, there's probably more Grab drivers sitting outside than the
Other
capacity of the
orders.
restaurant because your audience simply ballooned. Um, so that's the opportunity that retailers can capitalize on.
Miggy, would you like to say something on this topic as well?
So I can
Oh,
speak from the context of some of the retail clients that I'm working with, and it's crazy. So in the first, I'd like to say the first month and a half to the first 2 months, it was it looked really bleak for many of my retail clients, and a lot of the discussions then were around just surviving the year basically. and because we were so reliant on our offline business to drive people to our stores in the malls, right? But
Mhm.
what was really amazing to see was that when the sentiment here in the Philippines is kind of normalized, and everybody just focused on adapting to the situation. It's crazy just how different the rest of the year looked like in terms of our sales, where we
Having
saw a lot,
yeah,
many of
having
our clients.
said
Sorry, go ahead.
having said that, Miggy, sorry about that. So, what technologies do you think will help the digital transformation with your clients in the retail industry?
Yeah, so again, in just our context of marketing and e-commerce, I think two things will definitely help. So first one would be more of the e-commerce enablers. Businesses or software companies like Shopify, where they help you not only create a storefront, but help you also with your POS, your inventory management. Very holistic, one-stop shop companies will definitely have an important role. And then obviously your channels, your online touch points such as social media platforms will
Mhm.
definitely be more important. I mean, I've been preaching this for the last 5 6 years, and it's nice to finally feel like I'm not sounding like a crazy person talking about why we need video, why we need to be on TikTok and all of that. So definitely those are the first things that you need to be able to look at.
At the end of the day, it has to be convenient for the customer to want to get on board to go to Shopee, for example. I think we're also speaking on the super app where all the convenience gets integrated into one app on your smart device. Yeah. Terry, would you like to share your thoughts on this as well?
Sorry, what's your question?
We are currently speaking on technologies that can be integrated
Yes.
in digital transformation of the retail industry.
Okay. Well, I
It's
think
actually question number 4.
I think when we talk about technology, I think the majority of the person would think about those very high tech technologies or what so called destructive technologies such as blockchain, AI, or VR whatsoever. But I think they are good, but even better, work together. They can work together to bring out the synergy
Mhm.
effect. This point number one. The second point I would like to highlight is indeed there are really available technology in the market that we could employ for example, a cloud. Say we put everything on the cloud, say cloud financing, cloud warehousing, cloud shipping, whatever. The main purpose is to try to eliminate as much as the intermediate as possible to make it more reliable, to make it more efficient. Another point is, I think, when we talk about technology, is that it is very important for us to employ the right technology to the right place along the supply chain. Yeah,
Right.
and
Having said that, in like in Hong Kong,
hmm,
for because I've not been to Hong Kong in Lord knows when, and we don't know when the borders will be open again for us to go and visit you. But in Hong Kong, what are some of the retail trends happening on your side in Hong Kong? What's happening with retail, with digital transformation? What are you seeing, and what's happening there?
okay, I think for Hong Kong, it's a very small market, to be honest, when compared to China or even Southeast Asian market. That's why most of the time, we do regard Hong Kong as a regional hub in terms of the logistics, even in terms of the e-commerce, the cross-border e-commerce. Well, basically, there are four trends I can see when I talk about retail or e-commerce, whatever. The first about e-commerce plus, a lot of company are using the data from the e-commerce to develop the other kind of business in order to
Mhm.
draw the new stream of revenue. This is number one. The second is um, we try to make use of digitalization to have more concise um, um, consumer. We try to better understand the buying behavior or preference of the consumer through digitalization, more concise digitalization. The third is about upstream and downstream. We see that a lot of companies they cooperate with a lot of partners along the supply chain, either upstream or downstream, to have the synergy effect. Last but not the least is to make use of technology of what I just mentioned about um, blockchain, AI or VR, or even cloud. How to uh, deploy different technology the right place along the supply chain. Yeah.
Thank you, Terry. That's quite insightful one, looking from four different angles and perspectives. Um, our final question of the day: how can the transformation team keep up the momentum? Gian, would you like to take this?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, I was, I recently wrapped up a class that I was giving. I'm currently doing part-time professorial work at the university here. And, lo and behold,
Mm-hmm.
my course was in digital transformation. So, one of the things that we're seeing right now is that, um, technologies go into some sort of hype cycle, right? There is this initial phase where everybody is excited, they start adopting, and then when at a certain point, that's where the quote unquote buyer's remorse comes in. People get disillusioned because what they bought wasn't necessarily what they got.
Yeah,
And then over time, as people, organizations get better in adopting these technologies or actually getting a more business and technology fit, then their excitement goes back up again. So that being said, you know integrating digital technologies into any industry, not just in retail, is difficult. Not because of the technology itself, but it's mostly because that you have to convince heart or move hearts and minds.
our
It's
people.
about
I
the
mean, the
adoption of
people.
people. Correct. And
Mm-hmm.
momentum, you're not sustaining momentum of the project. You're actually sustaining the excitement of the organization for your project or for digital transformation. Um, and you can
Mm-hmm.
do that by, well, one, you you adopt technologies in a quick and incremental way, right? Small changes, but done so quickly. Not because they're easier to do, but because you can communicate wins much faster or much more frequently.
Adoption rate. Yeah.
Correct. People love winners. So if you communicate that what you're doing, wins for the organization, or it makes even very small incremental improvements for the organization, that's okay. But if you have more of that, it will just build up and build up, and then you can actually keep the momentum going. So for me, it's about these small um, communications of wins, and eventually you will hit this flywheel effect that it will just use its own momentum to by
Mm-hmm.
itself, right?
Yeah.
So and for me, that's how you keep the momentum. Small wins communicated more frequently up to the point where
Absolutely.
it
Yes.
will take a life of
Absolutely.
its own and it will carry forward.
Mm-hmm. Abhishek, yes, your say.
Hey, thanks. So completely agree with what Jian was saying. One statement,
Mm-hmm.
probably a bit of philosophy, but retail as an industry will always be playing a catch on with the end consumer because end consumer is evolving a lot more faster than what retail industry can do. So Jian's first thumb rule, smaller wins, but continuous wins are very important. So if you will ask me how to keep up the momentum, I think one of the very important paradigm shifts that is happening in the retail industry from technology
Mm-hmm.
perspective is the ability to break
Mm-hmm.
down everything into a service. So I think
Right.
that whole services approach, which is now getting evolved as XaaS, anything as a service, is
Mm-hmm.
a very good way to
Mm-hmm.
approach keeping up the momentum because depending upon what the end consumer want, you can give them very focused, precise information rather than building the whole piece, which might just get thrown out. That is one very important way to keep
Right.
up the momentum, I'll say. And the rest, of course, all of us agree. Technology is going to play a very important part of it. Finding the right technology that works for you, not for the fact that your competitor is going for it, or not because of the fact that the technology has a great name in the market. You need to find the right technology that works for you N- Do not be a one size
Yeah.
fit
The
all.
adoption rate needs
Retail
to be
is
high.
custom.
Mhm.
Retail is custom. That makes even the technology adoption to be very custom to your ecosystem. No two retailers are alike.
Abhishek, as we're coming towards the end, drawing towards the end of our plenary, would that be
Mhm.
your final take? Is there anything that you would like to add on, or would that be your final take in this plenary today?
Uh, my only
Any
take
further
will be
thoughts or any final thoughts?
just probably just one last closing statement, Jeevan. I will just want to state
Mm-hmm.
for all the retailers that digital transformation is inevitable and will be more expensive to catch on if you are not already trying to onboard
Yep.
this train. It's a very fast moving train. Make a go at it faster rather than later. It's going to get
Yes.
very expensive.
Right. Right.
That's
Thank you
the
for
thought
that,
from my side.
Abhishek. Very interesting, very insightful. We'll just go one round. Miggy, any final thoughts from you?
Other than that, which I completely echo, playing catch up is very expensive. So work towards making that happen faster. It's just I think just to add to that, it starts with leadership. If business leaders don't see this as the next step for the business or the next cycle for the business, then it's very difficult for
Yeah.
the whole organization to follow suit. So yeah, it has
Yeah.
to start with
The
leadership.
next wave.
Digital transformation is
Yeah.
a mindset more than anything. It's an acceptance of
Mm.
the future, and that starts
Mhm.
with leadership.
Thanks for that, Miggy. Terry, any final say?
Well, three things. First of all, I think for digital transformation, there are no perfect solution. He or she must to act first and then try and error along the journey. The second thing is about cooperation. I think right now it is very rare to find a single company who can perform all the things along the supply chain.
Right.
He or she has to
So shared
really
resources.
cooperate. Last but not the least is the innovation. I think for digital transformation, customer oriented is very important indeed. That's why we have to, in particular for traditional retailers or even e-commerce player, they have to really innovate, mindset innovation, and also customer oriented mindset.
Mhm. Thanks for that, Terry. Very good. Thank you. And Jian,
Yeah, my fellow
final take
panelists
from you?
actually
Yeah.
said uh, a lot already about digital transformation. Maybe I'll end with a bit of, you know,
Right.
a caution instead. Uh, there is a point wherein you can get over digitalized, right? And knowing where that point
Yeah.
is very important, right? You cannot have all of your customers go to a digital channel because you will lose on those who like the high touch, high experience type of, of experiences, right? So, digital transformation is good. In fact, I would say it's needed and required at this point, but also know when to stop, right? Because at the end
Mhm.
of the day, you are not your customer,
Correct.
right? You might think that having the most
Yeah.
high
Right.
tech, fully automated business will work, but at the end of the day, you're not buying
Mhm.
from your own company. It's your customer who's buying
You
from
don't
you.
have your
Let them be
final
the
say.
judge.
Yeah. Final say is
Yep.
the customer.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Definitely. Spot on with that. Yeah.
Don't think you
Thank
can
you,
change.
Jian. Thank you.
Don't
And
don't
Miss
think you can keep
Raushida,
the human
any
touch
final
out.
words?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Raushida?
So three things come to mind. I think the first and foremost thing, it's finding the rationale behind the transformation and making it more purposeful. It's about going beyond the obvious of efficiency gain or keeping up with the competitors, right? So for example, the question to be asked is the purpose of the transformation scale for growth, or is it to have the adaptability to disrupt? So that's one. Second one is to make the progress visible to all stakeholders involved. This is very, very important and critical. Else, digital transformation can be easily perceived as a project, literally with a start date and an end date in mind. So after a good positive peak, users tend to regress to old ways of working. So what's important to know that it's a continuous learning journey, and that's why leaders and executive champions need to be involved and help the people in the organization to see that this transformation is not a one-off event. So mapping out a success plan and success matrix along with it that is visible to all will go a long way. And then lastly, what comes to mind is leaders can actually create a very friendly environment. And this is very, very important as well, because when it comes to decision making on certain tech that you're going to adopt or you're considering, it needs to be not just a top-down approach, but also a bottom-up as well, which involves voicing ideas, concerns about which different technologies can actually bring value to the business through different testing and learning.
Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. The human element, customer still drives it forward. One key observation, I'm a huge coffee cafe fan, obviously 23 years of drinking coffee already, that I see through YouTube and visits to the store. For example, the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, which is in Shanghai, which is in Milan, which is in Tokyo, where we develop cities in the world, where everything is connected, everything is virtually, you can do 100% online. However, there's still a 30 to 40 minutes in a day that the customer still seeks out that community, that human connection, that part of it. So we just need to find that middle part of where is it going to be human and everything else on the cloud. So very interesting conversation, ladies and gentlemen, today. I thank you all for your participation. I think that is also my final thoughts for this plenary. Thank you so much. And God bless us all. May we all navigate through this thunderstorm together and arrive safely at our destination.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks, Jeevan.
God bless
Thanks.
All right.